Hi again, everybody. Okay, today, starting a bit later than I would have, and just one second, I get some grease. I'm starting on working on this welder again. Not only because I'll need it to finish the job, but also one reason I'm doing it right now versus waiting for the epoxy to fully cure on the part. And I'll show you the part I've already sanded it to make certain it fits through here. I don't know if it fits through this piece really well. I don't know if it'll fit through the other unedited piece in there. I drilled this out a couple thousandths. But I sanded it so the epoxy would be pretty close to the proper diameter. But one reason I'm putting it in right now is I want to do that before the epoxy fully hardens, because that might mean the difference of whether the epoxy shatters or not. It's still pliable enough that I think that it's stupid to, if you want to use that word, or foolish. Either way, it's a bad idea to let it fully harden and then try to constrain it. Especially due to the fact that it's potentially... Okay, good, that fits in there fine. It's the problem that I'm up against, really. If that doesn't fit in there just right, which it looks like it's gonna, but I didn't want to have it get in there and... well, my brain is dead. I can't remember what in the world I'm talking about. I didn't want to get it in there and have it get hard and then snap because it was brittle. If I put it in while it's pliable, then it'll conform to the shape better than finish curing after it's conformed, and that'll ensure that it's as straight as it can be. Now, as far as how perfectly straight it actually needs to be to do its actual job, that I don't know. I'm busy wiping grease on my pants. Stupid me. Normal day for me, though, unfortunately. I'm going to hang that right there because I can't think of anything else. Let me get some paper towels so I can quit. Or rag. Just even any rag here. I can quit wiping the grease on my pants. I am such a slob, and I have such a terrible habit of wiping my hands on my pants or my shirt. It's like one reason, about, I'd say 50-60% of the dirt on my clothes is from me just mindlessly wiping my hands on my clothes. Alright, the next thing, the things I have to do, I have to line everything up here. Got the switch handle, kind of goes on, not quite necessarily last, but pretty near last. I guess it'll go on last. It can be last. It doesn't have to be on before the end of the story. Fortunately, everything lines up where you can't, the way this thing's built, you can't put it in wrong technically as far as because there's a screw on here that's set to the handle, and that's factory, so you just put the handle on, and if you look at where the screw is and line it with that knob, it's absolutely... As long as you don't try to change something, that'd be stupid. You know, I ain't about to try to change none of that. Alright, so what I have to do, I have to put this on, facing like so, and I have to push it through the rig. Then I put this piece on, and where's that pin? There's the pin. Somehow or another, it seems like there has to be something else involved in this, because it doesn't seem like it's got enough pressure, but I actually don't have enough pieces to do it any other way, so I'm not for sure why it's like that. Strikes me that that shouldn't actually be strong enough to resist maybe all it was is it was so hard to pull in the past because of the fact that, or am I getting in the wrong hole? Well, that's the hole. There's only one. I don't know, that's a casting. Maybe that, there it is. That's why I wasn't even looking at the right hole. Can't really put it in if you're going the wrong place. Okay, now that makes more sense. That's pretty much where it belongs. Now I'm gonna get a bigger. I'm gonna get me something with a little jaw straight length to it because that mule nose just ain't got enough spread. That's what made adjustable pliers for. All right, that'll get her done. Alright, get back in there a little bit. Alright, we're centered. Perfect. Alright. Now, does that look right? No. Well, no wonder. Thought that was too easy. It'll probably be a little harder to get it out, but what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to get... Actually, what I should try to do is try to get that pried up over that. Let me get one of my little pry bars and see if I can't get that in there that way. This panel lock remover tool for body panels is really handy in the fact that it's kind of split like that. But doesn't mean I'm gonna get it in there. I may have to go in there and fiddle around. I don't have an instruction manual on how to do this from the factory, obviously, because they don't make one. Now it says, yeah, we don't want to come back out of there. I'm not sure what changed, but there's just exactly enough room to squeeze it back out. I'm going to go ahead and pull that pin. I may be wrong, but I think if anything I can get even the bigger channel locks and force this down and retrieve it back in here. If I can get it out of here. Huh, interesting. Went in a lot easier than it comes out. Of course, that doesn't surprise me because some mechanisms are intentionally designed that way. That's why they have such things as valve spring retaining, valve spring compression tools and stuff, so that you can do that kind of one-way work, or nearly one-way work. The other thing is, I can't hold this thing down in there because I can't reach in there and work on it. So otherwise, I'd pin it down to something. And I don't want to take all these wires off of here just for this, obviously. Alright, I have the spring, hopefully, lifted enough. Come on, get back under here. I'm sure they use a tool similar to this to do this job. I may be wrong, but it just seems like the logical expression of this application is to do... Come on, get under there. Ah, doesn't want it. Now I got the process. And there we go. Just about got it. There we go. Ta-da! Awesome. I'm proud of me. I shouldn't be, but there's other people like, you idiot. You should have known to do that in the first place. Yeah. Actually, I couldn't do that originally. For the simple reason that when that thing thermally welded itself to the... I wish I had that 600 plus degree epoxy on me right now for this kind of thing. Because that thing originally welded itself in place by the nylon somewhat melting, burning. And this is supposed to be a melt resistant nylon, but resistant and melt proof, or proof and resistance are two separate terms. Because it did melt. It melted and burned and made a real nasty mess. Alright, that's on there. Okay, and you know the thing about this is when you have this kind of information and you know what you're doing, it can save you just a whole lot of money. I'm not saying it saves you a whole lot of work, because that depends on your opinion of how much work is a lot of work. I suppose, depending on how rich you are, it might depend on your opinion on how much is a lot of money, too. Me, I'm a po bunny. Therefore, being po, this is a lot of money. This thing ain't cheap. Even nowadays, chicks ain't cheap. There's a pun in that. Why are them chicks so quiet? Because they know they ain't cheap. Yep. Farmer goes to the store and says, "Yeah, what's this silent chick thing?" He says, "Yeah." So listen, they're silent. He says, "Why are they so quiet?" He says, "They know they ain't cheap." Alright? Okay. Now I start putting the panels in this thing. Now I don't honestly know what in the world happened to the original screws that went on this thing. I really don't know. But on the other hand, I don't care, because why? They weren't very long, and I need this extra long screw to have the reach to get in here and reach them. Not to mention I need about a map to even find there it is. Don't move. There we go. Uh-oh. Oh, I got it? Yeah, I got it. Now I gotta do the same on the other side. These two are pretty much the hardest screws to get in here anyway. Okay, I'm done with that. Set that down. Put that up there for the moment. That way I won't knock it over. Hopefully. I knock everything over eventually. Nature of the beast. Nature of the wabbit. Caught it momentarily. I did. So this is where those long screws come in. It's when you're trying to catch the edge of that hole. But even then, so I'll turn this a little bit. This is always difficult. And I cannot see down in there very well. I think I'm going to draw that other nut because that's just getting a little too floppy to get a good control of the situation, I think. Get this thing drawn up some. Now let's see if that helps me to have a little more chance of accuracy in this case. I'm dropping the tool on the floor. Yeah, huh, brought it right in. Anybody's wondering what these screws are, if they're not. These screws came with a set of sheet metal roofing that was purchased while I wasn't here, and I just inherited them. And that one's kind of nearly, that's pretty much stripped on that side. I better not mess with it. Now, that was the only 1/4 inch. So now we're going up to 5/16. That isn't 5/16, it's 9/32. One thing about this that I hate so much is that you got to very carefully stack and restack and restack and restack these because they like to fall over. Of course, this is my brother's kit, and I can't blame him for having all these sockets in here. They're all the right sockets to go in this kit. It's just they don't have any way to stand up, so they all like to fall over. While some of them are duplicates, a lot of them, I don't know, maybe a lot of them are duplicates for all I know, but pretty much like this one here. This one is just says E4. A tiny little, it's like an inverted Torx. 9mm. 8mm would be real good right here at this moment, people. Or 5/16. It's in here somewhere, unless I dropped it on the ground somewhere. Yeah. I'd be unhappy myself if I dropped it somewhere. So then I have to go run around everywhere and find it. Seven. Ooh, I must have dropped it somewhere. Oh no, there it is right there on the end of this long. Huh. Just dropped my brain, that's all. Just dropped all that gray matter and spilled it all over the place. Screw. Ah. Hopefully this is the last time I ever have to take this thing apart. But no promises. Those are supposed to be screws in there, but you can't line them up with nothing. They don't want to line up. Yeah, plus I don't know for life me where the screws got off to. I don't even know if I had them when I got it. I don't know if I had all the screws when I got this thing. I may have been missing some from the day I bought it. Because I got it used. I had a kind of a junk shop reselling kind of deal. Now, I've forgotten this little part before, but I'll tell you, this is really important. It's a little scuff resistor. It's another little piece of nylon. I don't know if that's evident. It's little, fits that mouse hole, goes around the cord, fits on the sheet metal, keeps it from potentially chewing through the insulation and shorten it out. And I'll tell you what, if they give you those things, use them. Even if this thing ain't supposed to go nowhere, even sitting nowhere, going nowhere, sitting perfectly still, that little booger can get in there and short out. I kid you not. You want them little things in there. If they're there, use them. Magnetic wires jump. It's the thing about being, you know what I mean? There's a load on here, and that load is magnetic, and it'll make them pieces of wire jump and crawl. And when they do, that'll rub the insulation right off of them, and you'll have a disaster on your hands. Something most unhappy will happen. There must have been some other piece in here, because there's extra screw holes, unless it was just a universal body for all of the, shall we say, Tombstone type It's like there's this little, oh, that just goes to the other piece. I don't think I have those, but I should look around, see if I can find some, because I'm bound to have some around here somewhere. I've got container full of small screws, I could probably match all these up. Somebody could say, yeah, but then you got more to take out next time. Let's hope there ain't a next time. Let's not have to take this thing apart every 5 minutes just to keep it running. Hopefully what I've just done will resolve the issue at hand, which is the idea that it's not working right because of issues of the heat. For instance, I think part of the heat issue was that little contact, it fell off. Literally fell off. It didn't break off like somebody pried on it. It fell off like it was just sitting there. Barely sitting there. So, from what I can tell, it really desperately needed to be resoldered on there. Now, I just hope that the solder job I did stays, because all I used was that tin from that self-tinning flux. I literally used the flux to make up for whatever kind of solder was in there. And all it was probably was a moderately high temperature solder. That's not what it got in return. It got a low temperature tin. I don't even remember what tin melts on. I mean, I don't know if that was a tin alloy or just pure tin either. But either way, so I don't know. It certainly wasn't silver solder, that's for sure. Oh, going the wrong direction, that's stupid. Didn't check what I was doing. I've got to be careful with these because they are pretty near stripped out. In fact, interestingly, what I've learned on a lot of these old machines, sometimes the only thing that actually really holds them together is the dynamic tension and the fact that the holes aren't lining up perfectly, if that makes sense. In other words, if they all lined up perfectly, none of them would actually have any grip because they'd all just spin freely in place, and it's the dynamic tension of the parts and, you know, fighting each other for position that gives them any chance to not just fall right out. Unfortunately, that happens a lot on machines like this. They rely entirely on the fact that they're not fitting to actually fit. Somebody say, what do you mean not fitting to fit? That's what I mean. It's the not fitting that makes them fit. Now, of course, that's not the case with the machine threads. Them not fitting ruins them. And I got these lined up by tipping it. That's why I tipped it. It wasn't just so I could see it, but because of the fact that the way this frame is made, it's only being held on in the front and in the back in such a way that you got to tip it to get it to line up. You know, these are arguably self-tapping screws. I don't want to sit there and try to re-tap the same hole. Okay. There we go. Eventually I will go ahead and, like I say, make a cart for this thing. Just don't know when. My brother was asking, were there supposed to be wheels for this thing? Oh yeah, at one time, but I didn't keep them on there. They weren't the right wheels. They weren't the wheels for this. There's some homemade thing somebody else came up with. Alright, now perfect. Works like it should. Now, I'll leave it like that, and hopefully it cures. Now, because it went in as easy as it did, it was apparently straighter than I thought, or there was a lot more play in some of those parts than I thought. But I'm just happy it works. Okay, that is the completion of the service of this machine. So, we are going to put the tools away. I'm going to call this a break a minute. I think we'll go ahead and load this all up. On the internet so people can see it.